Hi, I'm Frank Bradley, and in this short screencast, what I'm going to do is just talk about the Facebook newsfeed, and I'm going to share with you some of the features, maybe some hints and tips about things that you may not be aware of that might make using the Facebook newsfeed a little bit easier. So the first thing I want to talk about are basically the two different types of ways that you can view the newsfeed, and I want to draw your attention up here to this top section of the page where it says top news and most recent. So you can see here at the moment I am in the most recent view, which is just simply showing me in terms of most recent posts what has been posted by people and pages in my network. So you can see here the most recent post has been 8 minutes ago, then 9 minutes ago, and then 12 minutes ago. So it's giving me a picture of what has been put up there in most recently, which is something that is quite useful. But the other link or the other way of looking at this is also looking at it from the perspective of, well, what is the top news in my network? And what that does is it basically looks at all the content that is being posted in your network, and it brings you back content that has got a lot of activity around it. So things like people liking it, people sharing the content. It likes to bring back pictures that have been uploaded, just really where there's a lot of activity and comments taking place in your network. When you are in the top news view, you'll see that type of content. So the other thing that I would like to talk about is how can you actually clean up your newsfeed and stop some of the clutter building up on it. Now, one of the features that Facebook introduced recently was on your profile page it asks you things like, what's your favorite TV programs, what's your favorite books, and I did that a long time ago when I set up my Facebook profile, but recently they started introducing pages that were associated with what you actually like on your profile. So for example, here's a program, The Wire, an excellent television program that I quite like, and when I set up my Facebook page I indicated it was one of my favorite TV programs. But when Facebook introduced this new feature, I started to see updates from The Wire Facebook page appearing in my newsfeed. Well, I don't really want to see that. It doesn't really interest me. If it only appeared occasionally, then that would be alright, but it does appear quite a lot. So what I can simply do here is click on this X button beside that update, and what this is going to come up with, it's going to come up with a number of options, and what I can do here is select, for example, hide The Wire. If I click on that, and it says now that posts have been removed, so all posts from The Wire will no longer appear in my newsfeed. Okay, so I can, if I wanted to, I can click on this edit button, and what will this do? It'll bring it back up, and if I wanted to make it appear again, I could click on add newsfeed to bring that back, but I'm just going to close that for now. So that's quite useful, and that's something that you may want to go through your newsfeed and identify any content like that and remove it. Now if I scroll down through my profile, here you can see another example of House, which is another TV program. So again, I can do the exact same thing. I can click on hide here, and that will no longer appear in my newsfeed in the future. Now, an interesting one, if I scroll down here, is you're probably aware of the concept of games on Facebook, and one of the most popular games is one called Farmville. And again, this is something that annoys me quite a lot in my newsfeed, because I see these updates from people who are in my network. And again, this can be a bit of an issue for me, because from time to time the person might create good content, so I don't want to remove that person from my network, but I maybe want to remove those updates from the games they're playing. Well, again, it's very easy to do that, very easy to do that. If you click again on the X button beside that person, you see I have the option of actually hiding the person from my newsfeed. So I can do that if I want to, or I can actually hide the updates from the game. So now I'm going to click on hide Farmville, and it's now telling me that posts from Farmville will no longer appear in my newsfeed. So any user, not just that user that I was looking at, but any user they're up there. Any posts from them with Farmville on it will no longer appear in my newsfeed. So that is also very useful. So if I keep scrolling down here again, you can look through, you can see here, for example, Manic Street Preachers is a band that I like. Do I want to keep seeing their updates appearing? Well, they don't actually appear quite often in my newsfeed, so I'm happy to leave that one in there. Here's another game from another friend of mine. So I quite like to see Frankie's other updates, but in this particular one, the game called Cafe World, don't want to see them ever again. Click on the X button and click Hide Cafe World, and they'll no longer appear. Now I'm just going to scroll right down to the bottom here of my newsfeed, and I'm again, bear in mind that I'm in the most recent view of my newsfeed at the moment. If I scroll right down to the bottom, you'll see here where it says Edit Options, and if I click on that, it brings up my newsfeed settings. And this is really interesting, because what this is basically telling me is those profiles or people who I have indicated that I want to hide, I can change this here as well and basically bring them back. But it says here, live feed automatically determines which friends to include based on who Facebook thinks you want to hear from most. So this is really important, actually, if you're following a lot of people. What this is saying is that Facebook will determine what people appear in your newsfeed, or they will determine the frequency with which posts from that person's feed or person's profile will appear in your newsfeed. So what you can do here is then you can actually type in the names of people who you would like to see more from in your newsfeed. So for example, I've already put in here my sister and my wife. I would like to see more updates from them in my newsfeed, and I can just type in the name of another person. So let's say one of these guys, Brendan O'Have's one of my best friends. I can say I want to see more updates from this guy in my newsfeed, and that will help Facebook determine that algorithm and bring in the posts from those particular people that I have specified. And also in here, you can actually specify the number of friends, the maximum number of friends that you'll see posts from. And it does tell us here, of course, that the higher number means that you'll see more posts in your newsfeed. So I could, for example, even though it's not relevant to me because I only have 130 or something people in my my friend list, but if I had, like, let's say 300, I could include increase that up to 300 and click on save, and it would make those changes for me. Now if I was to scroll back up again to the top and change over from most recent into top news, so again, I'm in the top in my top news section of the newsfeed. If I scroll down to the bottom of the top news and click on Edit Options, I actually see something a little different this time. So I'm sorry about that. I just actually clicked on older posts. I need to click on Edit Options, and this looks a little bit different. So again, you can see here the people or the pages that I have already blocked from my newsfeed, and I can bring these back in if I want to. But if I then click on applications, these show you applications, games, etc. that I have already blocked, and if I wanted to, I can revert back. So like Cafe World was one which I showed you that I had blocked. I can just click here on Add to Newsfeed and bring that back in to my newsfeed in the future at any time I want to do that. So just close that down. So I hope you found this useful. These were just some basic hints and tips about the Facebook newsfeed. Hopefully some of them you haven't heard about before, so you've learned something new here today. And if you're using these already, I hope you found them as useful as I have. So I'd like to thank you for listening to this, and if you have any questions or if you have any comments or any feedback that you'd like to leave, just leave it in the comments of the blog post. Thank you very much.